Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Niacin. Hope you all are doing great. Came across a video that really got me, but then I don't know who made this video first, if it is a black lady or the white lady. But I don't care about both of them because they are just always in their feelings. But then we are going to talk about it. It is actually crazy seeing people coming out to talk about how other people went through what black people are going through and all that, but they are succeeding. You all are really very crazy at this point in time, trying to compare other people's experience with black experience. That is how silly it is, because you all were the ones that woke up to tell us that slavery was beneficial to the slaves, right? And then you are looking for a way to cover up the mess that you all have been putting, or the systemic racism that black people have to deal with in order to move forward and all that. And each time you all see them trying to move forward, you only look for a way to build another system that will take them 100 steps backward. That is how crazy it is. And here you all want to tell me about them sympathizing. Nobody needs your sympathy. Black people are not asking you for sympathy. You all should move away. They have never asked for any handout. Because if they did, when you all said that you do not want black people in your community or in your school and all that, they went, they built a black community. They built HBCUs. And then in the end, what happened to the black community that they built? And then you all trying to tell us that it was what? Riot. How was it a riot? We know what happened. And then you all told us who the savages were. And now we are finding out who the real savages are. Now, you don't talk that about my people. Let's get into this video.
The problem with white liberals when it comes to the black community is that they don't even realize that they're doing more harm than good. And I firmly and wholeheartedly know to be true that for most of them, it's coming from a loving, compassionate, kind-hearted place, but it's still objectively causing harm. The white liberal sees the black community as a community that needs to be safe. We need to add further protections for the black community. We need to rewrite laws for the black community. We need to hand out government assistance, to keep helping the black community. When all that's doing is keeping them in a self-destructive cycle. Rely on handouts, rely on the government, rely on external help. And I'm sorry, but this is a form of bigotry. It's not your intention, but it's backhanded and it's there. You can't succeed without my help. That's racism. Not one of the messages in the liberal policy for the black community is, you are great on your own, you just need to see it. And that's what conservatives have been trying to say for years and years. You don't need liberals in office or an immense amount of government assistance to be great. You are great. Just get out of your own way. Get out of the influence that makes you feel like you don't have a place in this world outside of your community, outside of drinking or drugs or music. And if this wasn't the truth, then why do we have black doctors, black scientists, black authors, black surgeons, black engineers, black professors, black teachers? Hell, we had a black president who wouldn't have been elected without the white vote. The only thing stopping the black community from being the best it can possibly be is liberal ideology. Instead of passing out standards to the black community, all you do is pass out sympathy. And you excuse destructive choices just so they don't feel excluded from your love. And again, I know it's coming from a good place, but that's not allyship. I know that the black community has an incredibly dark past, but so do most cultures and races. The Jewish community survived a genocide and rebuilt their entire country with some of the smartest people on the planet. The Asian community were thrown in internment camps, millions of them. And they rebuilt, and again, now they're dominating most of our professional world and our universities. There is no reason that the black community cannot do the same. The only thing stopping them is you, the white liberal, convincing them that without your assistance, they can't rebuild like those other communities did. You convince them every single day that they are too weak, too broken, and too damaged and traumatized to do anything on their own. And you don't think that's a form of holding someone back? The problem with white liberals when it comes to the black community is that they don't even realize that they're doing more harm than good.
Thank you, white conservative. We have been waiting for white conservatives to stand up for us, to call out the people that are putting our community in danger. So I really appreciate that video of you finally taking a stand against the racism and the danger that white liberals are putting us in. Like the danger of them telling us that we are not qualified for high-ranking positions, that we are DEI hires, that we are not smart enough to have those jobs. Or the danger of them telling us how we are the most violent people in the country, even though statistics in history say otherwise. or the violence generated by saying that we're eating our neighbor's pets, or the violence that's generated by saying that we are mooching off the government, that we are spending hard-working Americans' money with our welfare. Thank you for addressing how white liberals will go to a historically black college and antagonize the black people there. Thank you for calling out how white liberals are teaching that slavery was actually good for the country and that everybody had slaves, so we should just not care about that anymore. Thank you, white conservatives, for bringing up how white liberals have historically crossed state lines and able to go to places where black people were, churches, grocery stores, schools, neighborhoods, to then kill black people. Where would we be without white conservatives caring so much for the black community?
Okay, so I know this is going to ruffle some feathers, but it needs to be said, and please know that I am coming from a place of love because I know that your efforts come from a good place. But white liberals, you are not saving the black community. You are holding us back. It's not allyship, it's enabling. You excuse destructive choices, you lower the bar, you hand out sympathy instead of standards, and you call that progress. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. We're not the only group with a painful past. Jewish people survived genocide and rebuilt. Asian immigrants came here with nothing and built thriving businesses and schools. We don't hand them safe spaces. We don't rewrite laws to excuse their failures. We don't glorify victimhood for anyone else. So why is that standard different for us? We built an entire system around the lie that black people can't compete, and we call it justice. DEI, affirmative action, safe spaces, watered down schools, and even lighter sentences for crime. That's not empowerment. That's soft bigotry dressed up as compassion. And it's all causing more harm than good to the black community. It whispers you're too weak, too damaged, too broken to do this on your own. And we've accepted that lie for far too long. We don't need your pity. We don't need you to lower the bar. We need to be held to the same standard as everyone else. Because true empowerment doesn't come from being coddled, it comes from being called higher. Charlie Kirk said this over and over again. He asked Black America to stop fixating so much on our race and our difficult history. He encouraged everyone from every background and walk of life to make their past a reference, not their residence. And sadly, his honesty caused him to be labeled a racist, despite the fact that he was simply telling us the hard truth. So here's my challenge for white liberals. Stop lowering the bar for us. Stop designing programs that assume that we can't win without a handicap. If you truly believe in Black excellence, then treat us like the powerful, capable, brilliant people that we are. Stand with us, not over us. Walk beside us, not ahead of us. And Black people, if you're still here, slavery happened, oppression exists, but our history is also full of resilience and brilliance. Research Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington and Madam C.J. Walker. We've been free for 150 years, but somehow we feel justified in marinating in our victimhood while holding a $1,000 iPhone, rocking $200 shoes, and having nothing and no one standing in our way but ourselves. Pick up your mat and walk. Sentences for crime. That's not empowerment. That's soft bigotry dressed up as compassion.
That is so true. And with Black people that continue to lean on white liberals to justify their behavior, all they're doing, the only thing that they are doing is continuing to make excuses as to why they cannot do what they're supposed to do. And I like to call that the victim Olympics. And we have victim Olympians in first, second, and third place, and they are fighting for victim Olympics. At no point did making anything easier, right, when it comes to giving people handouts that wasn't deserved or allowing for people to continue to commit crimes without penalties and holding them accountable for bad behavior. At any point did passing people through schools that didn't deserve to be there. And I'm not talking about affirmative action that was originally created for people that did deserve and was capable of being able to pass through these institutions. The institutions themselves have become liberal indoctrination camps, which is one of the reasons why the Trump administration is saying that it needs to be merit-based and we can't discriminate against people based off of the fact that they are a specific color, which is the overcorrection for what white liberals feel guilty about their ancestors doing to black people. And at some point, it's like, don't y'all realize that y'all are enablers? It's almost like the mother that continues to give money to her drug dealing slash, taking son. And all she's doing is continuing to keep him in this perpetual state that's not going to allow for him to be a productive human being, an adult. And so she's enabling him instead of helping him. And she's actually making his life worse. And it's even worse for men. It's even worse. Like, we expect this from women. We expect women, to be making excuses and to complain because in a lot of instances, that is just what women do, right? They are looking for a leg up. They're looking for a handout. The nature of a lot of women is to use men for resources and opportunity. And so it's never going to be beneficial and all of this other stuff. But for the men, come on, man. I can't believe it. There is so many weak men. And I had a conversation on A Millionaire Morning.
An old friend recently asked me if I believe in white privilege. I quickly responded with no, and then she said, "You must be so privileged." I thought, with what? I thought that was for white people. I always thought it was funny when a black person would walk up to Charlie Kirk's table, ask him the same question, "Do you believe in white privilege?" He would always follow up with a question. He would say, "Name one thing that I can do that you can't do as a black person in the United States." And there would always be crickets because clearly there's not one thing that a black person can't do that a white person can do. But here in the US, we are taught that white privilege is almost like the law of gravity. Everywhere, it affects everything, but it is also very invisible. We are given such a simplified version of Black history in our country. We are told that white people went over to Africa, stole us from our land, brought us over here to work as slaves for hundreds of years, and then the Civil War happened. We aren't taught any of the in-between, any of the nuance, or any of the other history that actually really shapes where we are today. We aren't taught that there were free blacks from the very beginning. Do you know that since the 1600s, there have been free blacks in the United States? We aren't taught that only 8% of white Americans even own slaves. What were the rest of them even doing? I didn't even know about them. We weren't taught that thousands or even millions of Irish people were brought here as indentured servants, given horrible treatment, were not treated as equals either. So technically, if you think about it, if there was a free black here in the 1600s and an indentured servant Irish person here in the 1600s, the black person technically has more history and privilege in the United States today. So what I believe is the truest privilege is the privilege of a positive mindset. I believe that we here in the United States have been indoctrinated to believe that there is white privilege so that we look at everything through a racial lens. If you are told from a very young age that people are racist, that people are out to get you, that the system is rigged against you, and it is hard to get ahead in the United States because it was built for the white man, they are the oppressor and you are oppressed, then you see everything with a racial lens. If you are not hired for a position, they were racist. Maybe you didn't present yourself as well. Maybe your resume wasn't as strong. Maybe you were late. Maybe it's just who you are that they didn't like. Maybe not everyone is racist, right? Maybe somebody looks at you the wrong way. Your first instinct is to assume racism. Maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they were looking past you. Maybe it wasn't even about you, but we have been taught that racism is ingrained into everything. It has impacted our ability to move forward in this life.
All right, white men, let's have a look at ourselves in the mirror moment. I'll start out with me, okay? I love to fight. Violence has never bothered me. I've been in some stupid ass fights. Doesn't matter how big the person is. I literally don't care. I've always been like this. Trained in MMA. I have a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Boxing. Trained at it for years. So I'm going to tell you I understand my tendency for violence. When I was younger, all it took was somebody literally to look at me the wrong way. or somebody talking shit, raising their voice to me, my fuse was this long. I understand that about myself. In the past, I did not value myself at all, or other people. Didn't give a shit. Do you want to fight? I'll fight. I don't care. But now, let me explain to you why we are the weakest link in terms of our existence, especially in America. Those of you that are MAGA Republicans, white men, Donald Trump is pushing openly America to be white, straight, Christian, male, like through means of policy, through means of white supremacist violence. And some of you, as evidenced by the last fucking 48 hours, that you're carrying out mass shootings. For what? Y'all have everything you want. We aren't oppressed. Literally, Donald Trump and his administration are handing white men everything on a Christian, straight Christian white men, everything on a fucking golden platter. And your responses are still violence. For what? Somebody picked on you? Somebody doesn't like you because you don't give a shit about anyone else's rights? Is that what bothers you? Is it because everyone sees us as a threat and treats us accordingly? Does that bug you? Over the years, as I've learned to value myself and the rest of humanity around me, I have come to understand my own privilege, how we live in a patriarchal society, how I hold a position of power in society as a white man because the white supremacist system is built for me and for you as another white man. I am not oppressed because somebody doesn't trust me or doesn't like me. I'm not. That's not what oppression is. But we respond in violence. I have had to learn over the years how to regulate my anger. I have a lot of trauma. That's not an excuse to be violent and dangerous. Especially as someone, again, who holds the most privilege in this country, being a white man. Every single day I walk around, and in my head, if I see anybody wearing MAGA shit, I want to fight you automatically. Don't need words. All I have to see is your face in a fucking hat, and I'm ready to go. But I have to choose not to do that, because that will put people that I love in my family, in my community, in harm's way. We as white men have to learn how to regulate. We're sensitive as fuck. While simultaneously, a lot of us walk around saying, well, I'm a straight shooter. Everyone else just can't handle it. No, you're just a fucking bigot, and you don't like when people tell you that. This ties all the way back, and even further so, but to our colonizing ancestors that came over here to America, killed everybody, enslaved everybody, participated in the genocide of the indigenous peoples, enacted chattel slavery on black people, treating everyone else as fucking property, 3/5 of a human being, carrying out some of the most violent, heinous shit that we couldn't even comprehend. That shit lasts with us. That generational violence maintains itself in our DNA. And it's a default response. Again, we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. We have to learn to regulate our emotions. And I'm telling you that as somebody who has had anger problems since I was 2 years old. We are not oppressed because someone doesn't like us. I am not oppressed because someone automatically doesn't trust me as a white man. I understand why. We are operating and living in a system that is directly violent towards black, indigenous people of color, towards the queer community, towards immigrant families. Y'all have everything you want. White MAGA, you have everything you want. And again, the response is to go out and carry out mass shootings. For what? You have to learn to regulate how you react. Same with me. You have to learn to critically think. Same with me. You have to see people as human beings. Same with me. I have to see somebody in full for who they are, for their experiences, what they've been through, their story, their history, what their ancestors have taught them, what they operate, what their communities are like, how I affect them directly just through my presence as a white man, and the danger and violence that I present to everyone else. We have to learn to fucking regulate ourselves. Period. You cannot have everything that you fucking want through government, through community, through your work, not be oppressed, and then go out and carry out the most violence. It doesn't fucking make sense. Learn to regulate your emotions. I have to do the same thing.
How many more lives have to be lost before we admit the truth? You ever notice how fast the narrative shifts depending on who commits the crime in this country? When the perpetrator is white, suddenly it becomes a tragedy of circumstance. He was troubled. He was mentally ill. He was a veteran who slipped through the cracks. And the story gets padded with sympathy. Sympathy for the white person. But let's flip that. If he had been black, do you honestly think we'd be hearing about his struggles? No, we'd be hearing about gangs, about black crime, about how he was dangerous from the start. If he had been Mexican, it would have been plastered everywhere as a border issue. Headlines would scream about immigration policy, not about his mental health. If he had been gay, you know what they'd say. Look at what that community is pushing on America. If he had been trans, it would have been endless think pieces about the so-called threat trans people pose. And if he had been an immigrant, God forbid, an undocumented immigrant, you already know the talking point. Shouldn't have been here anyway. That's the hypocrisy, the silence. Violence committed by white men gets explained away. Violence committed by anyone else gets weaponized against entire communities. And here's the part that enrages me. The conversation doesn't just change, it dies. When it's a white man, the media and politicians will talk mental health for maybe 48 hours. They'll talk about veterans for a day or two. They'll admit in passing that maybe we underfund care in this country. And then, poof, nothing. Because to go further would mean staring the real truth in the face. America has a weapon problem. America also has a privilege problem. And America does not want to admit that white violence exists in the same way it paints black or brown existence as violent by default. Think about it. When the perpetrator looks like the majority of this country, the nation collectively looks away. There's no lock down the borders. There's no ban this group. There's no make new laws to keep them out. Instead, it's silence. Silence that protects one group while throwing every other group under the bus. And that silence is not neutral. It's dangerous. It's how the cycle keeps repeating. It's how weapon violence keeps climbing. Because if we treated white guys the way we treat black, brown, queer, trans, and immigrant people, we'd be forced to admit that the real threat isn't an identity. It's the weapons. It's the culture of violence, and it's privilege that excuses it. But America doesn't want to have that conversation. It's easier to demonize the groups that already carry stigma than to hold the mirror up to itself. And until that double standard is shattered, until we stop giving excuses for one while condemning the rest, nothing is going to change. How long are we going to let white guys be painted as victims of circumstance while entire communities keep being painted as the threat? How long do we allow this silence, this privilege, to literally wipe us out? Because make no mistake, this isn't just bias. This isn't just oversight. This is the cost of racism and white privilege in real time. And the longer we let it slide, the more blood is on all of our hands.
This is all I got from this video. The truth is that conservative been holding black people back for so long. That's why they have refused to dismantle the system. For the first time, I will keep this. You know, why liberals should stop being in black spaces because they do not deserve to be there. They should stop coming out to say what they want or what will happen or what will not happen. They should just stay far away from black people. And sincerely speaking, I do not like it when people try, like, I understand maybe you are trying to be, caring and all that, but please, I think it's not okay trying to compare other people's trauma to black people's trauma because they have their own experience. Black people have their own experience. Black people have been trying to build all that have been taken away from them, but each time they try to build it, they destroy it. Why do they keep destroying it? Why are they still in fear? Why are they scared? You know, it is still them being scared that made Stephen Miller came out to talk about how left for him it would have been 100 million people that look like him. Why are they still in fear? I thought they said black people do not amount to anything in their own world. Black people are this, black people are that. But you are still scared of the same people and still mounting different, still mounting so many walls in order to block them from exploring the world. And the system is still being built in order to stop them from being who they are. Why not allow that system to be dismantled so everybody can go out and test their abilities? That was why the other one came out to say, if I see a black doctor, I don't think I can go to a black. Who cares? Don't go to a black doctor. No black doctor is asking you to come. Don't come. If I see a black pilot, I am going to ask first, is he or she qualified? Yeah, I know. Just as much. It is even someone that didn't see the privilege. The privilege sometimes is privileging. Someone that did not even go to any college that will see a pilot that spent how many years, or you see a doctor that spent how many years to become a doctor. You are questioning the doctor's capability because you feel like it's a DEI. In their own words. Because all of a sudden they change DEI to something else just to fit their narrative. All the time, it's always been their narrative, I will keep this side. And for the brother that talked about how, for how long are they going to continue to allow mass people to happen till they wake up and do something? How long will they continue? And then end up blaming, the fact that they always look for a way to blame their own problems on black people tells you how they will never stop, not until this system is being dismantled. What are you fearing? I love the fact that black people are just educating them, not like doing a whole lot for themselves. Black people are intellectuals. They are rising. And that is so great. The truth is that not until they decide that we are going to tackle this problem not as a race, if not, the problem that they are facing will continue to happen, because you cannot tackle a problem by looking for a way to blame somebody. I don't even know who told them that black people cannot do without them, because last I checked, you guys have been the one depending on black people. Last I checked, the white community you guys tried building failed. Just without, it has not even started, but it has failed. Last I checked, black people have their own space before where they do not need to, because you guys said you do not want them. And they decided to go, okay, let's do things for ourselves. And you all still couldn't. You still couldn't stomach it and went ahead to do what you did. And then said it was a riot. The lies. Black people do not need your handouts. Just let them be. Do not think, the fact that they want to be the one, like, in the end, they will say, oh, yeah, who are the ones that you built who? You built who? That's why they couldn't swallow the fact that in their slaves came with so much skills as Black people. They were already great people. And they want to hide that aspect of Black people, that they are strong people with different talents. They are trying to hide that. And then said that they were able to learn which skills could you teach a Black man back then? Which skills? The reality is that they know that my people do not need handouts. That's why the system is built the way it is. See, like I always say, the system is not probably malfunctioning or something. It is functioning the way they want it to function. I will draw the curtain here. Bye for now.